Okay, we move on, and this is in streetcar. Paul Watson over there. I've at last got your name right, Paul, in Grumpy's Toy in the full pop, up against Pete Lane, S37 in the left-hand lane in the red Camaro, and running and of course Paul Watson run that perfect 12.90 for his last run. 12.90 index. He gets to the top end first, but let's have a quick look and see how he's done on the times. So let's have a quick look here. Well, I think that was a grudge race. Indeed it was. It was a little grudge race, just getting all excited about this. This is what we're going to be doing for a couple of minutes here. We're giving you some grudge racing to look at. Please excuse me while I get myself organised here. And left-hand lane, that time was 12.81 at 105. And if you've got your cameras with you, ladies and gentlemen, now would be a good time to get them out, because this is really going to be a super little picture for you here, with the Anglia and the Ford Pop coming out onto the line together. Let's just make sure that I'm not talking out of turn here. I think this is a grudge race that we're seeing, and not an actual race. Yes, it is. It's a little grudge race. Kevin Jenkins out there in the right-hand lane, running, of course, in Super Street with nitrous oxide. You can just see him venting the nitrous oxide there, just behind the scoop. And Jeff Owen with his Anglia, which of course was an export model, and someone has just informed me, the sit-up-beg export model in the left-hand lane. It's just grudge racing, and what Kevin Jenkins go right out of shape there, but Jeff Owen really lane there. I do like that car. It's very, very nice indeed. So let's give you a time there for Jeff Owen, and just proving that he can get down underneath the index. 9.796 at 137 miles an hour. Right hand lane 12.54. Can I have a look at that? Sorry, I was talking to you. Well, we have Neil from B&H Autocraft, please. Neil from B&H Autocraft. As we continue to get more grudge racing, Marino Molinari who gets to the top end first. Let's give you a time for him. 11.55, 114 miles an hour. And Marino Molinari in the left-hand lane, going through there 13.01 at 104.
The world is always changing, nothing stays the same, but love will stand the test of time. The next life that we live in, I know this place before I lay down.
So what we have got here is grudge racing, of course, for your edification. And right-hand lane, that's Brian Emery, of course, a surprise knockout in street fight. Brian shut down on his last outing by Steve Sykes, really lost control on the start line. And SS47 in the left-hand lane, that's Paul Fletcher. Well, these two are just having a little tussle. Brian Emery quite capable of running down near the 8 on that turbo car. Nitrous oxide injected Suzuki in the right-hand lane there. Paul Fletcher has run 10.4. Left-hand lane. And let's have a look and see how Brian Emery has fared on this particular occasion. And it's in the mid-9s, 9.59 at 122 miles per hour for him. And in the left-hand lane, Paul Fletcher, 10.81 at 127. Hello Steve, you back again?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Dinner, tea and breakfast?
That's right, I've had me grub. Well, Brian Pateman is patiently sitting down. He's been knocked out of competition, but I think everybody's frightened to run him. He wants a super gasset or a pro modified. He's been knocked out.
How about my Granada?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Fair enough, that's alright.
So, if anybody wants to put in a grudge run with Brian Pateman, he sat down there patiently waiting for you.
Well, there you are. And PS14, that's Mark Newbury, I think.
That is
on the Pro Stocker. He had some problems with that machine yesterday and was hoping to come out and put in a run, but unfortunately didn't manage to do so, so he hasn't been out in competition here today.
Graham Dance over on the spectator lane. He's also been knocked out. I noticed John Morton looking over the bike in the near lane, giving a little bit of advice, a little bit of encouragement and help. So Graham Dance knocked out earlier on. Let's see who knocked him out. Len Paget, of course, knocked him out in the quarterfinals. And some problems there possibly with Mark Newbury's bike. John Morton and the crew looking down. Graham waiting patiently to see what's going to happen. So this is just grudge racing here, pro stock style.
Well, Martin Newbury's bike based around a Kawasaki ZX-10, that fiberglass replica body there. And right-hand lane, that's a GSX 1100E of Graham Dance. So a lot of bodywork, the Tourer of the ZX-10 in the left-hand lane. Aerodynamics, a lot of the non-pro and a red light there for Martin Newbury, but that looked good. That was a good run from him anyway. But what a shame he pulled the red light. Let's have a time of speed for Graham Dance.
Graham Dance, 8.92, 143 miles an hour.
Well, that could be one of his best ever times, Steve, that, I think. I'll have to check that out on our...
Does look good. You have a look on the sheet. 8.80, 144.4.
No, Graham Dance has won run 8.79. Martin Newbury's time was what, Steve? Can you just remind me? I'm so sorry.
8.80, 144.3.
Well, he's got to be pleased with that. That's absolutely superb. And first run, real good run for him here this weekend at Santa Pod.
More grudge racing. Neil Mitchley, SS37, got knocked out earlier on. A big surprise that was. I thought Neil was going to go through to the right the way through the field, but knocked out by Steve Sykes when he had problems. SS28 over there, that's Ken Cooper. He was knocked out by Ron Russell. Grudge race, super street style.
John Walker was just up here saying that the reason he was down there with Martin Newbury helping him is his old engine in that bike. And he's absolutely chuffed to bits that Martin's managed to run that 8.80 there.
Oh, well done to him and the crew.
Last run. So, how did the last two do?
Well, Neil Mitchley, 9.74 at 143 miles an hour. And waiting for the time on the other side, 9.76 for Ken Cooper, 136. Right, a little bit of information on Pete Scott. John, we've been deliberating over the weekend whether or not it's a Kawasaki.
Yeah.
Pete has come up and confirmed that quite forcibly.
Did it?
Of course it's a Kawasaki. No, seriously. He said, here, I've got a little note and I love it here. He says, after a pathetic qualifying session with a dodgy gearbox, he changed the engine last night for a standard Z1000. First round the clutch was locking up against the drive, so unable to hold on the brake. Test run to see if it works.
Well, there you are. So that actually means I've spotted a motorbike and spotted it correctly.
You get brownie points for that.
Gracious me. Martin Bishop is the man in the left-hand lane. It's his 7th anniversary today. He comes from Bexley in Kent on this H2 750. And fast by gas, Kawasaki from America is the engine in that machine. Quite capable of running 8 down into the 9s this weekend. There's the green. That's a good hard charge there from Martin Bishop. I wonder whether he's managed to back up that earlier 9.80.
10.13 he runs this time, 128 miles an hour. And Pete Scott, good run for him, 10.42, 132 miles an hour.
Well, this is the man with the motorbike that sounds like the car out here in the left-hand lane. That's Keith Houghton, and running the VMAX, the Yamaha VMAX, running alongside SP22, and SP22, that's Dan Avenel on his Suzuki. But Keith Houghton, of course, from Manchester, and it's 1186cc, so it's a 1200 V4, and that's of course why it sounds like a motor car, I suppose.
It does sound good. Dan Admiral, of course, must be still kicking himself that red light in the first round against Paul May.
Yep.
So out here for a grudge run against Keith. Well, Keith absolutely drama on that grudge run there for those two. A little bit hard. Boyd just got that a little bit quicker over the weekend. He was trying very hard there, but I don't think he's going to improve. He runs 11.45, 129 miles an hour.
Well, he has run a 10.46 on that machine, you know, Steve, at 142.
And in the other lane, 11.88.
Well, this is an unusual duo coming out here to run now. And Dave Friend, the man in the right-hand lane who moved up into street bike from sportsman bike on this unusual sit-up beg machine called the Howling, running alongside the pro stock bike of Paul Willis. Now, Paul Willis, quite capable of running down into the 8s with this machine, and certainly has done this weekend. If we have a look to, he was the number 2 qualifier in pro stock bike, qualified with an 835 on with his old engine in that frame. He ran an 818. Now that engine now sits in Nick Pepper's bike, so they're still quite obviously dialing in this new machine in the left-hand lane. Dave Friend, of course, runs in the 10s, 10.58, which is 2 seconds away from the time that Paul Willis can run. So let's see how these two fare running side by side, a pro stock bike and a street bike, and you should really notice the difference between the two machines. Here they go, getting comfy there in the stage. Here comes the green, and Willis away out of that starting track, and that's and a pro stock. Fred was just about the 3/4 mark, and Paul Willis had finished. Now let's have a look at the times as they come through for those two. And Paul Willis, listen to this, Paul Willis, 8.22, so he's on the way back down again. Congratulations to him, 160 miles an hour. Dave Friend, 11.12 at 123, but congratulations to Paul Willis. Absolutely wonderful. Steve Woolett, of course, was that man who had that really unusual crash helmet. Do you remember that, with the 2 little slits in it for the eyes? He looked like a knight of old, you know, and used to come out.
But you'd remember them, John.
I would.
Getting a little bit nailing it again as he goes through the finish line.
Did we forget to tell you it was a bit noisy, that one? I'm sorry about that. So I saw 1 or 2 people jump in the stand there, because it was quite quiet on the start line, Steve Woolett, and then just hammered it when it was time to go. Steve,
8 points
to the mid to high 9s with the quartermaster, the red Firebird, 1968 Firebird in the left-hand lane here. And of course, it looks as though Mick Cheeley's got some problems again there. I can see Steve putting a cloth through the scoop on the bonnet there, trying to put the flames out. It must have coughed back through the carburettor again and ignited the excess fuel in the carburettor. But there goes the burnout. Sounds very, very ferocious now, Mick Cheeley's machine. Really is coming together. New heads and new fuel system on that Mr. Shifter car this week, and that's a 1920s Model T Roadster body on there. And Mick has been campaigning this car for quite some years, and it gets better and better and better. I was talking to him earlier on, and I said, well, do you think that there's a possibility there's a 7-second run in that car? And he said, well, if the chassis holds together, yes. And although he was smiling, he wasn't joking.
That's a typical Mick Cheeley response there in the Mr. Shifter. So I'll be looking to see what he can do. He ran at 8.54, tremendous run from him yesterday. Really would like to see another one. That car was really wild. 300. Right pavement, of course, in the Suzuki. Oh, there from Mick Cheeley at the top end. Maybe just a rocker gasket, something like that blew out at the top, but an awful lot of smoke there.
Well, we've got to go and check that out, of course, because if there's oil down in that right-hand lane, we will have to get that cleared up. But what about the times and the speeds? Because that looked an amazing time there from Mick Cheeley.
Certainly was. 8.63, 154 miles an hour for Mick Cheeley. Let's hope there's not too much damage done there. And for Brian Plankman, 9.85 at 133.
Well,